Present.
Thank you. For Vice President Administration Finance, Kai Brito, present. Vice President Legislative Affairs, Margaret Juve.
Present.
Thank you. Vice President Team Development, Annette Crowder.
Present.
Thank you. Vice President Public Relations, Michael Malone.
Present.
And Advisor Green. Here. Thank you, everyone. Senator Angel Avila, is he here? No Angel today? I'll mark him absent for now. Senator Sierra Brunner.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Senator T. Clearwater. See your
Present.
picture. Hey, there you are. Thank you. Senator Kodiak Kessel.
Present and or accounted for.
There he is. Thank you. Senator Danny Her.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Kennedy Washington, I saw earlier today. Do we have
I
a,
think she's excused.
she's excused? Okay. Senator Cameron Wilkin.
Present.
Thank you. Senator Katrina Willis.
Present.
Hey, there we go. Thank you. And Reedsburg Center for Regional Metro Campuses, Reedsburg Senator Stacy Brunner.
Here.
Hey, there we go. Thank you. We do have quorum.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the previous meeting minute.
There is no meeting minutes.
I'm just reading.
Yep, definitely. We're just informing you too. So we can just move on from there.
I think we should, as there are no meeting minutes, I motion we table, for just one section so that we can, move to the agenda and strike that section.
For this particular agenda or
Just this particular agenda.
we can do that if you wish.
Yeah. Right here. Any discussion? Everybody was in favor of tabling the approval of the previous meeting minute. Raise your hand.
Sorry, so you didn't go to discussion, so just a point of clarification here. We're tabling it definitely for this specific agenda, correct?
No, I said to table it for one section.
So where?
So just until the meeting, the approval of the meeting agenda, so that we can strike the approval of the meeting minutes as there are none.
So the president
Okay,
can
I'm
do
gonna
that currently right now. You have the ability to do that since there is nothing to discuss there. You can just say, we'll be moving on to the next section. So we don't even need to vote or anything.
We're moving to the next section.
But we already have the vote. We already have
Okay,
the-
yep, discussion. So my bad.
Well, I withdraw my second.
I don't think,
No, you
So once it
already
goes to
go
vote,
and vote.
yeah, once it's gone to a vote,
Okay.
there's.
Yeah, everybody was in favor of tabling the approval of the previous meeting. Raise your hand.
Get two hands up in the chat.
It's a majority.
I think that's good.
Three.
Thank you. Next item, reading and approval of the meeting agenda. Okay. David Mullen.
I would like to amend the agenda to move item 5, public comments, below item 8, non-business.
Is there a second?
I would like to add something to your amendment. I would like to also strike approval of the previous meeting minutes from the agenda,
Okay,
this current agenda.
okay,
So you're voting for, if you vote on this, you'd be voting for both of those things.
okay, you second it,
I
right?
also second.
Okay.
Well, did he accept that?
Yes, I'll accept it.
Okay.
Is there a second? There's discussion?
Yeah, so I have a question. So you want to move the public comment down to,
Yeah, so the motion would now be amending the agenda to move item 5, public comments, below item 8, non-business, and then striking the approval of the previous meeting minutes.
okay, so
Correct.
we have guests here
Yeah,
already that
I
are,
agree. There's no need to go through this. This is kind of rude.
I would just say that it allows us to just go through the unfinished new and non really fast, because there's nothing there anyways.
I would just rather do it at the end. I feel we shouldn't be even discussing this right
Yeah.
now. We have our people here that are our guests.
Okay.
We can vote if you want. I mean, has a second.
Okay. Senator Clearwater, Yeah,
Sorry, I pressed the wrong
anyway.
buttons. No, I favor Pete Carter. I think this is unnecessary as well, and we should move on.
Okay, everybody was in favor of moving item 5 under item 8 and strike the previous meeting minute from the agenda. Raise your hand.
No, wait a minute. Excuse me. I thought we just said we were not doing that.
But we already have it open.
Yeah, the vote was open, so it's open for a vote right
Yeah.
now. Because 2 people motioned it.
You couldn't ask them to rescind that in respect of the time of our guests?
I don't know, they didn't want to, I guess.
I think we have to go to the proper,
I think we should just,
okay? Like, the vote is open, like, anybody who was against it, raise your hand. Okay, thank you. I think the majority is we move to keep public comment at 8 and non-business at, public comment at 5 and non-business at 8. Okay, public comment, intercultural development, inventory, IDI, cultural competence workshop, Dr. Damaris Grady, Vice President of College Culture and Climate, and Vicky Weber, Manager of College Culture and Climate. The floor is yours.
We have a presentation.
Yep, I'm gonna,
While it's getting pulled up, I will just quick do an intro and we'll try to stay on time, keep us honest here. So I want to thank first your Vice President of Public Relations for inviting us into this space and for the opportunity to be in front of you to just discuss cultural competency through a different lens. So when I had a discussion with Michael, what we discussed was this idea of doing a training around cultural competency. I will tell you, and I'm sure you've heard me say this before, that being in the discipline for over 20 years, just doing a workshop by itself doesn't help if you don't leave people with action. So what we decided to do, we are trained to use this tool called the IDI, is to have you do the assessment, and then we are going to talk through your results, and hopefully at the end of this, leave you with next steps. There will be some things left unfinished today. I will not make you a promise that you will leave this conversation more culturally competent, but I hope you will consider what you learned today through our presentation. I also want to give you some context about the IDI. The IDI is an assessment. I know that most assessments have some type of validity in it and also some type of bias in it. It is one snippet of an assessment. It does not say who you are. It does not incorporate a holistic view of you. It's based on how you answered the questions in that moment in time. And so today in our presentation, because we only have 45 minutes, we won't have a lot of time to debate how you feel about the assessment tool. What I want you to do is consider it as one component of information to help you make informed decisions about an action step, either personally or collectively moving forward. Okay? So the IDI is about giving you valuable information around your mindsets, your skill sets, of how you deal with cultural differences, how you view each other's differences, how you navigate cross-culturally as a group. And then hopefully at the end of this, we will be able to come to some agreements around action steps for you moving forward to work better as a group cross-culturally. Okay. So before we get started, I'm going to have Vicky come up to talk just a little bit about the IDI and how we use the continuum of the IDI. And then I will also say, before I go, I did not see anybody's personal results. We've only collected your results as a group. So if at the end of our presentation, we will invite you, if you have more interest in how you landed personally, to come and meet with a member of my team to talk more about that. But we gathered all of your results and put them into our continuum. And if you did not do the assessment, I automatically defaulted you to denial. Okay, so if you didn't do the assessment, you automatically defaulted, okay?
So welcome, everyone. Just to go over the agenda real quick, So we're gonna run through a couple of things. Dr. Grady already did the IDI assessment, kind of an overview. From that assessment, we're gonna review the intercultural development continuum. You'll see that on the next slide. I'll explain the different components of that. We're gonna run through what the perceived and developmental orientations are and what those gaps look like and what they mean. So those are overarching, just to give you context of what we're going into, what this assessment looks like. Then we're gonna go into what your group reports results look like and talk about what range considerations mean, and then go into your planning steps. So again, hopefully you'll be walking away from this with some planning in mind for, again, how to work better as a team, how do you work better as the student population in general. Like Dr. Grady said, the IDI is one point of data to consider. This is an overlay of many assessments. So you can take, just like personality tests, right? You can take very many and you can get different things from this. So consider what you're learning from this from yourself as a group. And then again, if you wanted to learn more about your results individually, we can meet and debrief about that. So when I go through this continuum, you can see there's a lot of words up here, and I'll just go through each one of the sections. We went a little bit more in depth in these, so that's why there's a lot more words. So we have the pre-contemplation, which is the awareness portion. So that's the denial, polarization, and defense. That's the area where the characteristics are individuals in the stage are not aware or do not acknowledge the need for change. Individual believes racism is not a problem on campus. And some ways to help shift perspective is to raise awareness by sharing data, personal stories, and research that highlights the prevalence and impact of racism on campus, and encourage open dialogue and self-reflection. The next section is contemplation desire, which is reversal. The characteristics are individuals recognize, and I'm saying individuals, but in your case, it's a group, recognize the need for change, but may still be ambivalent or uncertain about taking action, and acknowledges racism on campus, but unsure of how to contribute to the change. And then ways to shift that perspective is to provide information and resources about anti-racism efforts, to increase desire, and then build momentum by providing guidance on concrete steps. The next section is the preparation, the knowledge and minimization. They call it minimization in this, and where the group is actively planning to take action, is researching anti-racist strategies and seeking out opportunities to make a difference. And the ways to help shift the perspectives to offer opportunities to develop knowledge and skills and encourage collaboration with others who share similar goals. The fourth section is about action and ability. And in the report, you'll see it's called acceptance. So the group's actively engaged in change efforts. They're implementing strategies towards change and actively involved in shifting their practice towards anti-racism. Some ways to shift this perspective is to acknowledge and celebrate their efforts and provide ongoing support and opportunities to enhance abilities for continued growth and development. And then finally, the fifth section is about maintenance or reinforcement. They call it adaptation. So individuals who have successfully made changes and are focused on sustaining them over long term. They consistently integrate anti-racist practices in their everyday actions. And then ways to help shift this perspective or maintain this perspective is to recognize their commitment and offer opportunities for leadership and mentorship of others, and encourage ongoing self-reflection and learning. So with that, those are the different areas that we're going to talk about. And again, we've kind of shifted the language a little bit. The bottom is what they'll call it in the report, which you'll see momentarily. But we wanted to give a little bit more localized context. So I'm gonna also introduce my colleague Katie Ackley. She's going to be reviewing this next slide, which is perceived orientation, developmental orientation, and the gaps.
Thanks, Vicky. Hello, everyone. So yeah, like Vicky said, we'll be passing out your report, in just a few minutes. But before we do that, before we get into those results, I'll explain a little bit about, what the items you will see in that profile. So the first one that you see up here, we talk about is perceived orientation. And your perceived orientation is a measure of how you rate yourself as a group. It's like really how members view themselves when interacting with culturally diverse individuals or groups, and how you see yourself on that continuum. So like what we said before, you have the denial, polarization, minimization, acceptance, and adaptation. So the perceived orientation is how you rate yourself, right? Or how, as a group, how you see yourselves. Secondly, we have the group is developmental orientation. So in the report that you'll be getting, you'll see PO, perceived orientation, and DO, developmental orientation. So the developmental orientation indicates your group's primary orientation towards cultural differences and commonalities along that continuum. So it's more accurate measure of where the group collectively experiences and adapts to cultural differences and similarities. Though it may not be like how you personally, is your personal approach, it is the overall perspective of the group. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we kind of get into the results of what that looks like as we discuss that. The third thing you'll see in the report is your group's orientation gap. And so the orientation gap is the difference between, you have perceived orientation, development orientation, and then the gap, right? So where you are, where you see yourself, where you actually are, and then the gap as a group. So the orientation gap reflects the difference between those two. So your perceived orientation and your developmental orientation. So there are three possibilities for how this orientation gap might show up in this profile that you all will see. So at times, the data may indicate that a group is overestimating its level of intercultural competence. And that occurs when the perceived orientation, your PO, is higher than your developmental orientation score. Sometimes the orientation gap may show that the developmental orientation is higher than the perceived orientation, which indicates that you as a group are underestimating your level of intercultural competence. Or there could be like no gap, right? Everybody could have tested on just how it's perceived and how you all actually are. And that's a general accurate assessment, and we call that, we call it anything? Oh no, if there's a small no gap, it's just that you're generally accurate in your assessment, sorry. So, I continue to say it seems like this is a elusive report because we keep on saying, you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it. And we will give it to you in a second, but again, we just kind of wanted to go over some of the definitions about what you're actually gonna be before you look at. So the fourth component of the report we will be examining are the 7, did I do that already?
Yeah.
Okay. So transitioning from that, we'll look at the range of developmental orientations. And so that segment illustrates how the various orientations are represented across your profile. And so you'll be able to see what the percentage of those mindsets are represented in your group's profile, and then learn like what might be a group. And then the final thing that I want to kind of talk about is our leading orientation. And our leading orientation are our next steps that we take to further develop your group's intercultural competence. Does anybody have any questions about these perceived orientation, developmental orientation, or orientation gap, or leading orientation?
We're just ready to see the report. Go ahead.
I'm guessing like, if we're gonna go forward to improve, like, the developmental orientation going forward, are we thinking about structural changes that will last, because, you know, a lot of people are gonna be graduating and moving forward, so are we gonna be focused on the next successive student senators to improve the, you know, intercultural awareness, or what is, or is this just on us?
It's a yes and. It's what are the things you do as a group to build upon your intercultural competency, and then what do you need to seed? What do you need to seed and water for the next group to be able to continue?
I think they might be ready to see this report.
I think they're ready. So then, and for those online, we will have some of the screenshots of it in the presentation, and we will send it out afterward.
And this is the group one, right?
This is
For all
the
of us
group.
together?
They're the first one, not for
This is
individual.
prepared for Student Senate.
Okay, thank you.
At home. So at home. This first slide, as those who are in the room are looking at it, I'll start talking about it a little bit to help make sense. And I know we gave you a lot of context, and it was very intentional, because I will tell you, anytime I've just given someone their report, they're like, what? Like, I don't think that's true, or they're confused and they have a lot of questions. So I want to normalize that for you. And I will tell you, even Dr. Grady, when I took it, I showed up at minimization, and I can talk to you about why. And I had to go through my own thing of like, how could that be? Like, I do this and I've done it, but there's reasons why I would show up in a place like that. And I'll tell you this, I always say, have you ever met someone, like a partner or friend, and they ask you about yourself and you tell them all the aspirational things that you want? Like, I used to work out every day, so I will still tell people, like, I like to exercise. I haven't exercised in like 6 months, but I like to think I'm someone who loves the exercise and I'm very fit. And that's really like my perceived orientation is really where I want to be, what I'm passionate about, what if I had more time, what I would be doing, if I had more ability to be mindful day in, day out, I would want to be perfect, right? But we all fall, I don't even want to say short, we all have things that interfere with us being able to show up as our best self, our mindful self, our intercultural awareness self, and the person that's a giver self. And so as your group took the assessment, collectively, your perceived orientation is that you're in a place of acceptance. And do you remember what acceptance kind of talked about? This idea of like, you're really aware of your interculturalness in your group, you're aware of what each other needs, you're aware of what the student body needs through an intercultural lens. This is really where you want to be, and that's good. That means that it's something you think about, something you're aspiring to ensure is seated within the student senate, within our student body. But when we look at where you actually are, so this is more so, what actions do you take? How do you show up? How do you deal with conflict? How do you center interculturalness and competency and consciousness in the work you do? You're almost to minimization, but showing up in this kind of polarization area of the work. Does anyone remember what that work was kind of? And I will tell you, it makes sense a lot of times for groups. It's really not often that you would see a group that is a total adaptation, because like you said, group members come and go. Sometimes you have to fit a new member into the group and learn how to work with each other. Or maybe there's a cultural thing that happens in our institution or outside that influences the way that we show up at school that will make us, we're just not in the mood. Sometimes even in this work, I'm not in the mood to hear problems. I'm not in the mood to, give the emotional labor that it takes sometimes as a diversity officer, and that's normal. That means that I care deeply, but I also have to take care of myself. So sometimes when we take care of ourselves first, which we should, when our group dynamics happen, it's normal for us to fall short, because sometimes when one person falls, another person falls. So how do we get it where everybody's moving forward together? Okay, so as we look at this, that means that there are other cultural practices that you have as a Senate that are more critical than that intercultural intersections. And so this shows that there's some underlying reliance on kind of tenets of what it means to be in student senate versus what it means for that interpersonal, intercultural relationships. How can you blend them both? Should you blend them both? What would that look like? I'm going to give you a moment to look at your report. And this is my question to you. As you've heard the descriptions of your perceived versus developmental, how do you see these relating to your group's own experiences with cultural differences and similarities? And I'll take maybe a response from one or two people. Yeah. How do you see it relating to your own groups? And not that you have to give me a long story, but if you have just an example or a thought that comes to mind. How do you see it relating to your group's own experiences? Do you think this is true? Is the assessment way off? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
guess, if no one's talking, I guess, I do. It is sort of, accurate, I guess, because, I guess when we are here, we agree, like subconsciously agree as Americans, like our viewpoints as Americans. And a lot of us don't bring our own backgrounds into this decision makings, our own life experiences. We think of it as just sort of like a homogenous American culture, and at least that's what I do. Like I think about like the issues, how would an American, look at this issue, and that's sort of what sort of dictates my thinking.
Yeah, and I know it's hard. Like I always tell people, like, even though I'm immersed in this work, I still work in higher education. And some tenets of higher education are ran like the government, right? And so the cadence of it sometimes doesn't allow for that different cultural perspective of how different things might be ran in someone's culture versus our group culture here. So I appreciate that thought, because sometimes, yeah, I can't bring how I would do things elsewhere. I'm like boards I am on in the community into Madison College because it wouldn't fit. And I might be the one not being intercultural enough because I want everyone to change to accommodate me, which would be great. It would be great. One more person, yes.
Yeah, I just remember going through the examination. I remember thinking I was gonna get dinged for one of them because I read, it said like, oh, groups, like people, it's fine for people to like keep to their own culture or something like that. And I guess when I read that, I'm like, I guess it's fine. I don't think it's ideal, but I wrote that, well, I do think it's fine for them to make that choice because I don't want to force anyone to do anything. But I do think it's like the ideal would be that people choose to go out and do that. So I wonder if that like drew my score down because I wrote, well, I think it's absolutely fine for someone to choose not to engage. If they want to be isolationist, they can be. But, like I hope that, I don't know, but like the difference between my perceived and developmental choice was, but I don't know, that I think that's maybe some of the difference.
So it really depends on the lens you answer the question, especially when it's asking about culture. So if you think culture means my personal identity versus culture means my students' Senate classmates, culture means Madison College, culture means the US. So the lens of which you think about culture is going to indicate how you answer the question.
Interesting.
And based on that, indicate where you fall on the spectrum.
Hmm.
So yes, it did change your score, definitely. Yeah.
So is a broader lens going to put you farther down or farther up?
So oftentimes this tool is used for our international students. A broader lens is going to put you farther up. Where when I'm immersed in doing work that's anti-racist work, sometimes I'm so focused on the most vulnerable here and now in front of me, the student body's here, that I answer it through that lens. It's gonna put me at minimalization because I'm trying to figure out what do I need to dismantle to ensure that all students can belong and thrive here. A broader lens of more of this kind of global intersectional way of thinking, yes, is going to put you further up. But again, it could change day by day. I watch something in the news, I might have a different fight in me in that day, and I might answer the question differently. But being able to think more from the balcony and holistically of like, I don't know what I don't know is going to put you more at adaptation. That's Katie. Katie was our person that's like, it's like, I don't know what I don't know, and I love everybody. We're gonna advocate. And not that I don't, but that fight in me sometimes, it's like, okay, I want to center the most vulnerable. I want to center this culture, and that might lead me to not think as broadly and culturally. We, even Dr. Grady struggles. So, yeah. So I'm gonna pass it over back to Vicki to talk a little bit more about your group gap.
I mean, you can kind of see in this one, but if you go to the next slide, you can look at the results and there is a difference between your perceived orientation and the developmental orientation. And this is what we call the orientation gap, right? And that's what Katie had mentioned earlier. So this gap indicates that you overestimate how adaptable your group is to cultural differences. And so you as a group see yourself as more culturally responsive than people from other cultural groups may perceive or experience you. So it's really a matter of the difference. And then I would have to go back and say, like, none of these areas is good and bad. Like, there's no like, oh, I'm on this level and I should be at this level. They're just points in time of how you're viewing yourself and how, like she said, you're answering the questions. So even when we do the debriefs, if you wanted to do individual debriefs to think about how your scores land, I don't want you to be hard on yourself of like, man, I really thought I was adaptation and I'm way over here. You know, it's just a matter of continuing to learn how you're viewing things and being self-aware of how, and it's not a I know it says it's a continuum. It's a continuum.
It's a continuum because it's fluid. That's
right, but you can go forward and back on it, is what she's saying. So there's the gap. And I want to talk on this next slide about your characteristics, strengths, and development opportunities as a group. So as we're looking deeper at your developmental orientation by examining some experiences that are common with groups who operate from polarization, I want to review some of these and see if there's any that resonate with you, particularly through your lens as a group, right? So strong commitment to one's own or another group's reversal, cultural view. I think yours is the second one because your results indicated that you were in the reversal. So may mistrust cultural values and behavior that differ. Aware of some cultural differences, but may have incomplete understanding of them. Cultural differences may be viewed as threatening or divisive. Cultural differences are seen as obstacles to be overcome. Sense that our way or other cultural ways of doing things is superior, or may have negative stereotypes toward cultural groups or positive stereotypes of other groups. And again, y'all are in the reverse one, so it would be that second one. So now that I've reviewed these 7 characteristics, and these are, you know, not all inclusive, right? I wonder which ones, if any, resonate with you in terms of reflecting how you operate as a group. Is there something that stands out? Go ahead, Annette.
To me, the aware of some cultural differences, but may have an incomplete understanding of them. And I guess my example would be, I don't know, I'm gonna use you, Danny. Danny one day invited me to Hot Pot, and I'm like, Hot Pot? What's that? And then he explained how, you know, it's like friends and family get together, it's a conversation piece. Talked about the food that's involved with it. And there was a lack of understanding beforehand, but then when I actually did it, it was like amazing. It was like a really sociable thing that I now do with my own family. So,
thank you for that example. Anything else that resonates for anyone else?
borrowing his hot pot button.
Go ahead.
Yeah, remember there was this, so I don't know if everyone remembers this back, but like one of the very first meetings of Senate, we actually introduced this bill for like LGBTQ Pride Month. And I didn't realize it was gonna cause like a firestorm of like commentary. And not everyone was like commenting to like not support it. Some people were like just trying to express their ideas, but there was like international views, and then like there was like the intersections of like race and like gender and sexuality. There were conversations about like personal identity, and like it all got wrapped up in there. And it was really interesting. It was like the very first bill we had to pass. It was the summer. We didn't know what we were doing quite, but like I don't know, it was like a big conversation. And while it like seemed like it was gonna, I don't know, I think at the time it seemed like it was a really big deal, and it was like passion in the air. I do feel like it was like, oh, our introduction to, okay, so this is where we all think. It's how we all see things. And I don't know, I think we overcame it, and we're still mostly here together. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it was like at the time it was a difficult conversation to have, but at the end, I don't know, I think people understood each other better, even if they didn't come to an agreement. So I feel like that's kind of where we're at. So I feel like that's like the perfect example.
Bit of a trial by fire there.
Yeah, exactly. The very first trials we had to pass together.
Healthy discourse, we call it.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
like
then
that.
there's what is one may have negative stereotypes towards some other cultural groups, defense or positive stereotypes towards another universal. Yeah,
Yeah, that resonates with you.
yeah.
So we're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, have you ever thought about other cultures' food? Like, I know I do this. I'm like, ooh, eat. Right? Like, I remember the first time I saw like people eat raw ground beef. I was like, I didn't realize, like, I was like, oh no. Like,
That's a Wisconsin.
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I can totally echo what you're saying about like the food and stuff, because like recently I've tried like a bunch of like different types of like Filipino food. So it's like, oh, have you heard of like adobo, or have you heard of, the fried chicken or this and that? And I'm like, oh, I haven't heard of it, but it sounds good. And once you try it, you go, oh, that doesn't sound too good when you think about it, but then you see like a picture of it, or you actually hear about it and then you taste it. I'm like, okay, all this stuff is pretty good food when you're like exposed to different traditions and cultures. And
But I still have my moments where I'm like, my food's the best, right?
yeah, for sure.
So thank you for sharing all that and making those connections. I think that's really great. So your group likely can deal head on with difficult international and multicultural issues and resist the temptation to ignore these concerns. I think you gave a perfect example of that earlier. So the developmental opportunities, your task is to become more tolerant of differences, recognize basic commonalities between your cultural group and people from different cultures, and recognize that all cultures, including your own, have a mix of positive and negative features. So, and again, that's looking through the lens of your culture as the student senate, as well as your identity obviously informs that, but at this time, we're looking at that culture in particular. I'll pass it back to Dr. Greedy.
Well, this is our last slide. And so again, I don't know individually where people have landed, but I wanted to give you kind of a percentage of where you landed. And again, there's about 4 people who didn't take it, so this denial would be a little bit more, right? So, but overall, holding towards that minimization, so you're joining me kind of in that middle. And we see oftentimes, especially for those who are in a holding identity that might be minoritized or historically structurally excluded, often fall in this place because not only do they have to navigate trying to be culturally aware of others, but the difficulty of trying to navigate their own cultural awareness of how it fits in to dominant society. So it is normal for a lot of people to hold there.
So, sorry, just a question. So no one got into the acceptance range?
No.
Oh, wow. Oops. I mean, I didn't either.
I mean, you could say that nobody really did when we took it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I did, but.
I mean. Yes. We were being trained to be administrators, and I had to have like let's have a come to Jesus moment about it's okay, we're all okay. We still should keep our jobs and do what we're doing. Like this is why we're doing it, so we can be more self-aware, emotionally aware of the personal battles we fight, trying to navigate this new reality of what it means to understand the whole person, not of ourselves and others. That's a lot of work. That's a full-time job for counselors. I'm a licensed therapist, so I know that. So it's a lot of work. So as we look at your profile, like Vicki says, it demonstrates that you're open to the conversation. And even this denial, when you fall here, I don't like the word denial, and that's why we call it this like pre-contemplation. Like you are aware that there are differences and sometimes we just don't know what to do next. Like, okay, awareness sometimes is enough. And sometimes people don't feel like they have the agency or the authority to really do anything different other than show support or be a dissenting voice or participate in healthy discourse. Sometimes that is step one. And those who are really in denial, they don't even want to participate. So the fact that you're participating, I don't like that word because we're really about this pre-awareness component of like, well, now I know, but what do I do next? How do I take action? So that's what we want to leave you with, is preparing your action plan as a group. So at the back of your IDI report, the very last page, we're going to leave our presentation with giving you, I'm sure you won't have time in your agenda today, but giving you some focus time to plan out what you could do as a team to work towards adaptation or at least acceptance. And sometimes it's getting everybody to minimalization. And so an idea that I've seen other groups do is maybe attend a cultural event together, maybe host it on campus. I know a lot of you participated in the meeting that took place and the talk back that happened afterwards. And then when you go to an event, to spend time unpacking it together, right? Asking questions of each other or volunteering together, doing a group activity that's about learning about each other's culture. Like let's even having a potluck of food and having conversations about the food that you have in front of you. So we'll leave you with these questions. And for those online, because you don't have in front of you, I will read them to you. But the questions on the IDI ask, knowing what you now know about your group's IDI profile, what makes the most sense to you as it relates to your group? What aspects do you see playing out among members of your group, with internal stakeholders, with your team, or with how you conduct your work? What do these results mean to your group? What are some insights you have about your group's team intercultural goals and challenges? As a group, as you think about your challenges, your group has navigating these cultural differences, how does the group's DO, that's your developmental orientation, help you understand why these challenges might be occurring? And there's some sub-questions. And then what would you like to do next? What I tell people is, don't be overwhelmed by the idea, I have to be culturally competent to be a leader, to be in student senate, to lead something. Sometimes it's just taking one action step individually and then taking an action step to collectively as a group. So even if you just do one thing together, that's moving you towards that continuum of getting to adaptation. So that is the end of our presentation. I don't know if we have time for questions, but I will open it up if you do. But we leave you with that. You plan your action steps. Go ahead, Annette.
I just had a, could you give us like an example, like if you were recommending something that we're considered doing, could you give us an example?
Yes. That's why I started to like make recommendations and I was like, no, I want them to do it, but I hadn't. Yes. One thing I was thinking of was the weekend event really touched me because not just because our students were here, but because of the reach back, how we got the K-12 students who are potentially our future students as we're looking towards our Vision 2030. I think as a group of leaders, thinking through as you leave, what do you want to leave here at the students on the Student Senate for someone to pick up and to continue to think about the cultural lens here? And so my suggestion would be, you don't have to do this, but I was like, well, I know you're working on a position of belonging. What would a resolution look like for you to continue to do immersion activities to learn about each other culturally? That's a simple thing, right? Yeah. I also like the idea of either hosting or attending an event together and then leading some type of talk back for the student body. I like that idea. I already had spoke to Kai. It would be great if Kai came and did a presentation on dead naming, and then we had a talk back about it to understand why was there so much healthy discourse around that sense of that identity around even a resolution for the LGBTQ plus community, right? Let's put some information in front of people to have some conversation, because I feel like some of the feelings that come up around interculturalism is because we're on a brink of a breakthrough to understand. Not that we're trying to, there's no right or wrong or trying to change people's minds. It's, we really do believe, and it shows up in your report, that you do want every student to belong here. So how can everybody be their whole self here?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So sorry we leave with homework, but that's, you know, we do. Thank you. Thank you for those online.
Yes, we'll send you the report.
Sure, you got back. Just-
And then how do you schedule a meeting and you get your individual?
Yes,
report?
reach out to Vicky and
Okay.
Vicky will, you're ready, yes. If you want to see your individual report, especially those online, who weren't able to participate that much in the discussion in here, please reach out if you'd like to see your individual report.
And if you want to reach out, that's great. Include some dates and times that you would be available. More than one option would be great so that we can kind of start the scheduling process right away, okay?
President, we have two hands up.
Oh.
Sarah Willis is first, followed by Sharon Clearwater.
Sarah Willis?
Okay, actually, T's hand wound up being up first, but anyway,
Yes,
the
it says
question
one
that I
on
have
there.
is, the question that I have is for those of us who submitted the assessment late,
Accurate.
is it possible for you to actually calculate late, or additional responses into the results that you have to actually see if it stays the same or change?
So if you, yes, if you submitted it late, we can recalculate and send that update out. Yeah. Mhm.
One
So if you
other quick
haven't done it
question.
yet, go ahead. Go ahead.
One other quick question. I'm sorry if I didn't hear in the beginning, because I remember getting an email saying only 5 out of 15 people had submitted. I don't know if that actually got changed and if it was a greater number. So that was the only
Yep.
reason why I was curious going forward, if late responses could be recalibrated into the outcomes.
Yeah, we did get it up to about 10
10.
people. So it was 5 out of 10 didn't complete, then we got 10 completed it.
So we were missing 5 in the end. We included Sean as your advisor since he's part of it. So there was 15 total that we sent it out to, and we had 10 responses as of noon. That's when I ran the report.
Okay, I've submitted mine since then. So thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah,
So
we'll
for
rerun.
those online who haven't, if you do it by end of day, we'll rerun it tomorrow and send you out an updated one.
Yeah, and we'll send that out to everyone so everyone can see even a difference in what I've printed out today.
Senator Clearwater?
Yeah, I'm really glad Senator Willis asked that and said all this, because literally I had an exam earlier. I just moved and I'm now in Chicago hanging out with friends I haven't seen or just a meeting for the first time in a long time. So like I did not have the schedule to finish it up after having my first initial conversation with Vicky. I mean, though my hesitations still stand. I think that has been noted, but I will take it. And I'm going to take it with a maintained perspective. And that is something that I will note to myself, which is, that's where my hesitation lies, is that because this is a group thing, you know, I would want to talk about my perspective on it, where I'm coming from it, versus if this was just a me thing, and I know where I'm going with things, that's different. Like, I think as a group, like having like that selection and that like a collective voice in a specific perspective or an individualistic perspective, with like their independent cultures, I think that would be very beneficial moving forward. But I do intend to move forward with doing it sometime over, well, I guess I'll have to do it tonight.
If you're able to, if you're not, it's okay to just let us know when you do it. And then we can set up time to debrief with you. And I would say to do it through your lens. Like, So don't overthink it. When you start overthinking it, so whatever comes to mind, respond with your first like frame of mind.
Yeah, that's the problem is I actually have a very shifting perspective. I do consider things from multiple angles when I do read a question. And that's why
Yeah.
I see this as a potential issue in others is because even, question to question, I'm just like, how do I want to answer this? Do I want to come this from an American perspective, as a T perspective, as an Indigenous perspective? Do I want to do this as a nominee?
Answer it as a T perspective. Do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Always enjoy hanging out.
Yeah, same.
Unfinished business, no unfinished business, new business, no new business, non-business, housekeeping. Senate election update. As everybody, I don't know if they shared it last week, but election is coming up. Do we still have quorum?
We do, even with Kodiak. Did Kodiak leave or you just going to the bathroom?
So he's going back.
Yeah, he's coming back.
He's coming back.
Okay. Yeah, we have, I'm gonna defer to Advisor Green.
Yeah, so the applications for Senate to apply for Senate are now open. And you have until March 3rd, Senate has until March 3rd to try to get as much, response or applicants. So if you're, interested in wanting to be on Senate next, term, obviously fill out an application before that time. Because once that time hits, the ballots will close. We also want to try getting the word out. So I think you saw VP Malone was trying to do putting some tabling efforts together this week. I think he's doing it not next week, but the week after. We're gonna be having it, posting it everywhere, just directly to the website. Following that though, at the first week after spring, we have spring break. And then the next week after that, that's when you start campaigning. And then the ballots, will be using Wolfpack Connect. That's when you actually vote. We'll find out noon on March 29th, who the next Senate term will be. But yeah, that's just a preliminary laying it all out.
So,
Okay,
Rachel,
wait.
Yeah, can we get that? I know maybe it's not right now, but can we get that written down on like a timeline of?
Yeah, actually, VP Malone, you get that updated on the website, that is all laid out exactly in order. You saw that hopefully.
Yep.
It's on the website.
It's not yet, but it's,
It's in the works.
yeah.
Okay.
question.
Vivian Malone up.
Yep. The only thing I was gonna say was, if anybody needs QR codes for the Senate election, there are copies up on the table and I'll print more as we need them for anybody else who doesn't have one that would be attending in person.
Okay, you can go with me, Joe.
My question is, if somebody's coming in, can they still apply?
If someone is what?
Coming in as a new person, like a student,
Yeah.
can they,
Yeah, this is for anyone.
can be in the positions, can ask to be voted for?
Yeah, so new students, new students.
Okay, because I have somebody that wanted to go, so I'll
Yeah.
give them the,
Yep.
Okay, Vivi Carter? I see you up there anyway, so.
Did you have your hand raised? I didn't see nothing.
No, I'm trying to show that it had the date.
Stella Willis
For
has
sign up on here.
Yeah, she told me that, yeah.
Stella Willis, you have your hand raised.
I apologize. My computer is doing its own thing.
Oh, okay. Any other discussion about the swim election? Is everybody ready?
Where's the QR code? Oh.
Yep.
Just see how that works.
It'll take you directly to the ballot, but if you're running for multiple positions, you have to fill out an application for each position.
Can you also, like, whenever you pass this out, can you put like a link on it too?
Yep.
Because sometimes it doesn't work for phones. It's hopefully my
How many
phone.
copies?
There should be 10 copies there.
Yeah, like,
Oh,
Okay, the other thing I wanna add is, this is Senate election. We all have to promote it. And as in the previous, it's always a low turnout. Let's change that. Let's get as much people know about the Senate election. Let's get as much people vote for it. Um, if you're running for Senate, if you're rerunning, or you cannot use Senate uh, office or anything. But I'm like last year when I was running, like I was running for myself, and I do a great campaign. It was I reaped the benefit of it, but one thing I see last year was it was more like for a club, or it was high hitting, it was like we didn't see a lot of campaigning, and I feel like we can change that this year. We just have to, when you're campaigning, you're campaigning for yourself, but when you're talking about the election, just don't come and be like, hey, vote for me. Just be like, hey, can you vote in the student senate? Because their voice matters. And I, we can change the perception, like, as we can see last, uh, we lose three senator, we replace two. That's because we are really on campus and people see us, and we can give, like, reach more people. And thank you, Vivi Malone, for doing the tabling. I'm thinking about going to the regional campuses. If anybody want to join me, I don't know when that's gonna be, but to promote it on the original campuses, to have more people, to have, like, this year, the only weakness we have is the regional campuses representative. Like, we feel like the other side position, but for the regional campuses position, it's hard for us to prove frequency
Yep, just to expand on your point about regional campuses and getting the outreach, I've already reached out to Senator Brenner of getting more word out, especially up at Portage, because of the close proximity that it is to Reedsburg, so that we can continue to get that, like, awareness out there and people are knowing about us and keeping that interest.
Are we going to make, are we gonna have like a student senate, collaborative effort in promoting these student senate elections, or is it gonna be mostly individually?
The way I see it is, it's student senate election. It's not like some people who's running can campaign on their own time about them. But if we do it as student senate, um, that's how I see it. It's like it's a collaborative. Like, I'm not running, but I will be talking about student senate election.
Yeah, and that's sort of like what I was gonna follow up. I'm not gonna run too, I'm gonna be graduating, so I'll still like to campaign, but will it be counted as office hours if we can't?
It's gonna be, I know, it's gonna count as office hours because it's student senate business.
Yeah.
Like, you come campaigning, like, you campaigning, like, personally is not gonna count as office hours. But if you promoting difference, campaigning and promoting is different. Promoting is promoting the Senate election. Campaigning is vote for me. Any other question or discussion about the,
What are you gonna be doing next year? You're still here next fall, right?
yeah.
So you're gonna be like student voice or?
I'm thinking about it. It's gonna be my last year, and
Yeah.
it was great to serve as the student senate president. They have something in store. When it's close to time, I will let people know.
Oh, just curious.
Okay.
Personal curiosity.
Are you running for the board?
Announcement, our next meeting will be on Thursday, February 22nd, same room, 4:30. And our next guest gonna be Dr. Daniels. I hope we make it. Become prepared. Like I remember last time we were trying to be prepared. This is the same thing. I feel like in the spring we're getting better at it, like following the Robert rules, the question and everything. I see some progress, but we can, we like it. Yeah, we can always do better. Application for the communication coordinator position is open. We need someone. And I can become a dictator next week. I'm gonna just pick someone.
Why did you look at her?
Nah, I'm maybe gonna have to pick someone because we need someone. It's the incentive is you get $200 more, and this can look great on your resume. Like the communication coordinator, like it's gonna involve a lot of writing. If you planning on getting a job like where you're gonna have to write a lot, this can show like your writing skills. That's a good thing. The position is open. You can just submit your application, and if I get one, we will go straight to vote. That's how bad we want it. But any other announcement?
Ask anyone if they're interested right now. So
Yeah.
vote
Are you?
for
No.
it.
Yeah.
Are you
I like it,
interested?
but no.
Are you interested?
I'm good.
Anybody online?
Anybody online interested? Okay. Any other announcement?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so for the people who are here, there's a basketball game tonight and they're repping Black History Month, so please come. First game is at 5:30, second game is 7:30, counts as office hours, hint, hint. Next week, I mentioned this before, Black Student Union and Yahara Journal, or Yahara Journal, Black Student Union, however you want to say it. We're doing an open mic that is going to be on Thursday, starting at 2:30 p.m. in the studio, whatever it's called, but you can ask me later. Yes.
Studio theater or whatever.
Yes, and so that's open to everyone. You can read poetry that you love. You can read your own stuff. You can do like a spoken word type thing. Just really want to see people come up. As I like to say, come out and show out. And I always look at it as a good opportunity to network because you learn what other people's skills are. You can add them to your mental portfolio of, hey, I need to tap this person for this time. And then I hope everyone will consider registering for the soul meal or the soul food dinner. It's on Wednesday, February 28th. You can register yourself as a student and you can bring 3 family members, but you only have until next week to register.
And
So
what time is that gonna be?
that's from 5 to 7 o'clock on Wednesday, the 28th of February. So please register now.
Is it, this,
It'll be here at the college.
oh no, like for registering, is it in the BSU?
Yep,
Okay,
but it's up on the, if you go to Wolfpack, it's one of the events listed.
okay.
So all of those events are listed in Wolfpack.
Okay, any other announcement? You don't wanna do announcement?
Do I have an announcement to?
Likely the seminar.
Well, obviously, yeah, I'll let Sarah Willis do her announcement first, and then I guess I'll use that time. Yeah.
Sarah Willis?
Hi, I just want to remind everyone that's participating in legislative seminar, that's this weekend, Sunday through Tuesday, or come as you can. And then for some of the districts within Madison, there will be an election on Tuesday, February 20th. So if they're actually voting in your districts, please vote. Because again, it's not about who you vote for, just be a part of the process so that your voice is actually counted or heard. That's all I'd like to say. So thank you so much.
Where can I get the information?
It came out in.
Which information? About the
Like
election?
Oh,
It's
I
on the
sent-
agenda.
sorry, the local election or the legislative seminar?
The local election.
Okay.
Oh,
With the local election, if you go to the city of Madison, for the clerk's office, there's a schedule that actually tell you, and then you also should see in your neighborhood at your normal polling place, it will show, if there actually going to be an election. And it only occurs if there's more than one person, more than one candidate running for an office in your district. So like, for example, I'm scheduled to actually work the elections Tuesday the 20th, 6 a.m. until we finish, but at Black Hawk Church. Now, the other polling places that I have actually been chief inspector at here within Madison, I'm assuming that they didn't need me. The reason why they are sending me over to Black Hawk Church, which is in Middleton. So there may be some other sites within Madison that actually have candidates that are being elected, but I can also send out an email and let you all know, because I can pull it and then let you know if there's anything that I see in the city of Madison where there will be elections on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, Senator Will. Give her. If you could, that would be awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna, Annette, I think you still fill out the travel waiver.
Oh, I didn't fill it out. I thought,
You did,
oh my gosh.
but I think almost every, besides Angel has to still fill out the travel waiver.
Let me do that.
But I will kind of echo what Senator Willis said about the last meeting about where we're gonna meet on Tuesday. Senator Willis, you were saying 9 o'clock, right? What time did it start at?
Oh, in the morning on Monday?
Yeah, it starts, no, on Monday.
Yeah, Sunday's 5 o'clock, but
Yeah.
there's earlier events happening at 3 o'clock. There'll be a tour around the Capitol at 3.
Yeah, but yeah, so I assume some people are not gonna go to that, but the Monday one though. No, that's the 9 o'clock one, I believe, but we meet at the front of the Concourse Hotel. I will be keeping an eye out, either from the outside view or the inside. I'll just be wrangling everyone up, but that's how we're gonna all meet up. Unfortunately, VP Druper is going to send me the specific times of when we were gonna be meeting each representative so that I could send that out to everyone as Outlook notifications. So that everyone could kind of know who we're meeting and when and all that. So I will have to get that from her tomorrow. But please be on the lookout for that.
It is set though, right?
It is set. VP Drew has done a great job on doing it. Bless you.
Plus.
And bless you again. But besides that, Senator Willis, you think there's anything other important information that I need to pass along on this? If you haven't given me your phone number, and if you're going, it'd probably be a good thing. I'm gonna just do a big group chat. So yeah, give me that. Yeah.
Question in the chat.
Good question, chat.
If we can bring something, we forgot to bring something.
Anything you should bring with us? Smiles and, I don't know.
Can we print out copies of the position paper?
Yeah.
Yep, I sent it out in the most recent Senate.
Yeah,
email,
but
so
that,
we'll
yes,
print
that
that out.
would, that's a, yeah. Try to look good, look, good, you see how, Senator, Kessel's, looks right now, I mean, that's that's very stylish, you know?
State Capitol, I put the-
But yeah, business casual, there's, if we can, yeah, but also try to, if you're not gonna, can maybe have like the bottom half one way, maybe wear your jacket. That's also another thing you could do. But yeah, we're up in Senate. Yeah. And, I'm gonna see how things go. I mean, this is my first time doing it in this capacity, obviously. I have good faith that, pen and paper, that's Senator Willis, thank you, Senator Willis. First time doing this, I mean, I've been to this thing twice before, so to some extent, I never did the representative thing, but, you know, I think, we're all adults, we're all very much aware and, responsible and, again, communication and, we're gonna have fun, right? So that's all I gotta say, President Trump. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, just a quick announcement. I did send all the materials in the last, yesterday's email, so that the draft agenda, that there's been a slight change, so a new agenda should be coming out from Katie, like, soon. So that's like the most recent version that I sent out yesterday, but there's some final changes to be adapted to that. So just watch out for your emails and they'll come, if not from Katie Brooks from Nicolay College, the research director there. If it doesn't come from her directly, then it'll come from one of the, officers, either me or Katrina. So whichever one, honestly, just whoever sends it first, that should be fine. And then the position paper is the final version. That's the non-ADA compliant one. I have to still do a little bit more edits to bring it to ADA compliance, but that should be coming up on the website as well. So once we get the ADA compliance ones done, hopefully tonight, then we should be set on that. And that'll be the final version of it all. The content's the same, just like the accessibility for digital is not there yet, but physically it's all accessible. It's not digitally accessible yet. And that's all. Thank you.
A motion to adjourn.
I think.
Any discussion?
You even have to look up.
That's funny.
Any discussion? Everybody was in favor of adjourning today's meeting, raise your hand.
Two hands up, online.
Is that the majority?
I'm voting, I already voted, but
Yeah,
Looks like it.
thank you. We move to adjourn today's meeting at 5:43. Yeah.
au revoir.